My name is Jordan. I'm here today with Corey, Udon, and Edwin. Today we're going to be going over ourselves what we had done over the weekend, as well as talking about our obscure versions of retro games out there. Let's go ahead and start with Corey. Go ahead and tell us what you did over the weekend.
Um, so I played a lot of demos, some Fortnite stuff. I believe Edwin came over to the house and we were all kind of just playing Fortnite. But I did get to play a few demos on PlayStation to wrap up all the ones I downloaded from the other time. I played the demo for this game called Outcast: A New Beginning. Uh, it's pretty cool. The music is kind of the thing that I was most memorable because it was like, wow, the music's really good. The graphics are okay. The controls are kind of weird, but it is an open world sci-fi like adventure game. Um, I hope it does well. I didn't hate it, but I'm not. There's other things I'm going to play, so I'm not going to go to my way to get that. That being said, there is this game called Alyssa that is done in the same style of classic Resident Evil, graphics and all, so it looks like a PS1 game, the menus and everything. They even did controls as a PS1 game, but they give you the option to have modern controls, which thank God. But that was actually a really fun one. I played something called Skur Ritual, which is basically just Black Ops Zombies mode as its own standalone game. It's okay. Game's really dark, and I was playing it in the daytime, so it was really hard to see. But lastly, another one I played was called Unicorn Overlord. God, these Japanese games and their titles. But
I
Unicorn
actually downloaded that because I just randomly saw it. I haven't actually played the demo yet, but it looked really interesting from the screenshots.
the
Yeah, I saw him
animations
play it.
are good. I really like the visual style of it, and like it has a mix of like that Fire Emblem style gameplay, but like it kind of auto battles, and you kind of tell them what to do, and then you like organize your party, so it's kind of like equipping a hand of cards in a sense, and hoping that your hand's better than the one that's coming up, kind of thing. And it's a little more like laid back. I think there's another game that Atlas did that's kind of like that called Sentinel 13 or something like that. I think it has a similar playstyle, but I'd have to check on that. But Unicorn Overload was pretty cool. And then I played this um, game called Yohane the whatever Parhelion. It's just a weeaboo RPG card game that's kind of fun. The visuals are nice, and I found myself enjoying the combat system. I couldn't tell you what the game's about because I don't give a shit. I just wanted to play with the cards, but it was a pretty robust session of gaming. Um, but that's yeah. And then I got Helldivers, which I'm sure we're going to get into because we were all playing it together.
I wasn't.
I wasn't either.
Oh,
Well,
you,
they played without me. You just couldn't play in general.
Yep.
ouch. All right,
That
all right, Edwin.
was me. I thought it was Udon first.
Hey, go ahead.
All right. Well, I've just been playing more Yu-Gi-Oh. I finally finished the Fortnite Cowabunga event, so that's finally done. I don't have to play that until the next season. But I started playing. I went back to Doom Eternal. I finally finished that, and then I planned on playing Resident Evil 4 again, just because I keep seeing it on my dash, and it was like it's calling back to me. And then I remember that Doom Eternal has 2 DLCs, so it's like a completely different story. It's just like the consequences of the main campaign, so now you gotta resolve all that. But besides that, I also went back to like an old mobile game that I liked playing before, and I had to restart it because I lost all my data when I switched my phone. So that'll be good to relive again. But besides that, I have to finish Doom Eternal, and then I'll have to find something to play after that.
Alrighty. Well, it's interesting. I have more appreciation for mobile games than I think a lot of people do, so that's nice. But what the hell did I do this week? As far as the work week's concerned, not a whole heck of a lot. I've been still playing Paper Mario 64, keeping up with that, and keeping up with my Fate Grand Order and my Pokemon Masters on my phone. Again, I've talked about Pal World, but again, I'm just kind of dropped that entirely until they finally decide to give Xbox an update that it needs. Other than that, yeah, you guys were talking about Helldivers, so I've been dipping more into my PlayStation. So I got the Helldivers and got the stupid ass PlayStation Plus, but got that. Helldivers was interesting, but then I also tried Foam Stars, which I was like, yeah, this is really, I don't know, I like it. I think it's fun. Obviously, it's like clearly Square Enix's like take on Splatoon, and I like Splatoon decently enough, but like Foam Stars compared to Splatoon, like I feel like Foam Stars honestly controls feel a lot better. It's like way smoother than Splatoon is, and way more. I have this weird thing where I like tournament arena battles, like a lot of PvP, but like in universe and context, it's like a game. It's not taken seriously. I don't know. I always really like that motif. I like the city. I like the graphics and the character designs. They're all really fun. And yeah, Helldivers was really cool. Um, Other than that, I can't think of much that I've been playing. Work's been a bitch this week, so yeah, I think that's about all I got. I've been playing more about Pokemon on my DS, but that's other than that, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I guess on my side, I also have jumped on the Helldivers 2 train. Actually been quite happy with it, knowing that I guess for myself, it's been a really big deal for me to be able to go back to my roots and look at things that I once watched back then that were kind of fun to me, and that was the Starship Troopers movie. Seeing that this game is kind of like that in a sense with how it had its introduction to the video, that when you got into it, it was pretty cool, getting you all hyped up, pretty much saying that you could be the change for the world, basically being as patriotic as possible to fight these invasions, whatever these plants got, bugs and robotics and stuff. It's kind of cool to see that was all happening, along with the type of weaponry you can use. It was definitely an eye opener for me to know that it was a lot of detail was put into that game, as well as just the pricing of it. $40 is, I was very, I guess it blew my mind to know it, just to know that you're seeing all these games out there that are $70 and you kind of feel like you just didn't even get close to your money's worth, and yet this one feels like I've gotten beyond it, and I've only played it for probably 20 hours, and definitely feel like it's still a lot to have, a lot of missions and add-on things for it, which was cool to see that it didn't require a dollar bill next to it. That was also pretty cool to see. So I mean, just the fact that things had these missions that were really challenging, had a little bit of kind of like a Dark Souls, if you would, challenge vibe to it, to where it's just, even though you had a team of 4 players with all these kinds of goods and gadgets and stuff ready to go, you still could lose pretty badly. I mean, me and Corey can account to that. We were using all types of bombs and weapons, airstrikes, and everything we could, and we would get raped just constantly. So it definitely makes you think differently when you're out there versus most other games. They kind of don't focus on that, and they kind of make you too overpowering, and the game kind of loses its value. This one, it still seems like you still can, be able to experience different weaponry, try different things, but yet still you have to be on your toes, or it could be your last kind of deal. And that to me was pretty cool. I mean, that's the only game I really have played, but again, I'm pretty excited and happy that I did get it. So if for any of you that are out there that are thinking about it, obviously do your research and check it out. But I mean, from my side, I've been pretty ecstatic about it. So yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, of the 3 games that are out right now that are like giant community games, Pal World, Helldivers 2, and Skull and Bones, which Skull and Bones, did that actually come out? Like, is it
I don't think so. I think, no, yeah, I think it's out. It was just there was an open weekend earlier, but yeah, and it is out. I saw the physical copy at my store today, actually.
Let's see. Yeah, the Helldivers 2 is definitely money well spent. I mean, $40. And it's really fun. We were laughing pretty damn hard. I think the hardest missions that we did was we just call it that we're fighting Space Amazon,
saving people,
and
scientists,
Space Amazon, and space Jeffrey Bezos's army of Prime Day.
Look out! Robots. Here comes the deals.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like. We had to save 30 people. I think we got 3.
Oh my god.
Dude,
Well,
it
to be
is
fair,
hard.
dude,
It is
Jordan-
fucking
Three
hard.
people were very thankful.
Jordan is using the fucking scatter mines, and so everybody's just stepping on mines and blowing up.
And
because
using
there's
carpet bombs.
carpet bombs, napalm. Yeah, it's
Oh right, you
It's
told me
a lot
there's friendly
There-
fire.
Dude,
a lot of screaming and a lot of death.
yes, parts blowing all over the fucking place. It is crazy.
It's kind of slow. Like you land, and then you're like, all right, and here we go, and then it's just this like, downward spiral of chaos until you either lost or you won, and it's really fun because the pacing of the action is just like awesome.
Yeah, you jump right into the fray. Like there's really not it's not quiet time. You drop down and then your ass could already be eaten alive by a fucking bug or getting shot at by Jeff Bezos' robot.
So
I think that people have come around to like the idea of like these hardcore games because between like that Lethal Company, Phasmophobia, it's like these PvE games that's like the odds are so heavily stacked against you, but people like that, especially in a party setting when you're talking to all your friends, because it just opens up so many fucking gaming
Yeah.
moments. As weird as that sounds, it's like when you're back playing, co-op games and Halo and other stuff back in the day.
yeah,
It's it kind of invokes that feeling. Like again, the games feel like games, and it's something that is. I think people are like turning off to like PvP games now. Like PvE games like have been kind of all the rage right lately. Like not a lot of like just straight up PvP games I've seen been making a lot of noise. If anything, most of the time people are pissed off about it.
yeah. The last like 15 years has just been team deathmatch, and so seeing something where it's like, oh, it might not be couch co-op, but like you're saying, the PvE to gamer moments thing. Like I would also think that maybe like streaming is kind of bring the popularity of this PvE thing, because like you're either going to be streaming team deathmatch as a tryhard, or like, oh, check out my 360 no scopes, or it's you and your buddies playing a game and having a laugh and people watching and getting to like, enjoy your content that way. So I think it's kind of pushing it into that direction organically. And it's funny because, Helldivers is, I think it's generally a smaller studio, and the game's $40, and Pal World is what, $30?
Yeah, it's $30.
Skull and Bones is $60, and it's from Ubisoft. It's like it. I don't know if they're going to. We'll revisit that, I'm sure, later. But like these two smaller games are just kicking ass, and I don't even know what Skull and Bones is like economy looks like when it comes to microtransactions. But I would imagine it's chaos.
Well, I doubt it would matter because it was like, oh, you're paying $60 for a game, and Ubisoft is still on that mentality where it's like you still don't own it, even though you gave us $60. So good luck with that.
I hate their stupid system, whatever that dumbass thing is, when you like open up a game and it's like, oh, you play and you got points and this is a whole separate marketplace. It's like, I understand you guys don't want to share money with the storefronts of PlayStation and whatnot, but like, I also don't want to give you any money. I have to make another account.
Well, I think Ubisoft Play is like an achievement system, because every time you do an achievement in an Ubisoft game, it gives you a certain amount of points, kind of like a gamer score, but you can redeem those points for like Ubisoft Play or Uplay, whatever, for like very specific things. Because like the last time I played an Assassin's Creed game, it kept bringing that up, and then I had like some points from when I was playing Assassin's Creed 2 series with Ezio, and I just unlocked like a bunch of stuff in Assassin's Creed Origins by using those points. So it's kind of unique, but it was like, oh, you want points? You got to buy more of our games and play it to hell.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. I mean, most of my Ubisoft points, anyways, came from probably playing like Far Cry and what is that? The Watch Dogs, the first one.
Yeah,
But
I think the only like Ubisoft game I like play on a regular basis is like Far Cry games, and even I'm like I don't even consider them very fantastic. I call them like the junk food of games a lot of the time. It's just like I just want to sit down and play and
It's
shoot stuff and not think about anything.
yeah, it's the easiest open world design layout of it. Just like copy paste another one.
Go
It's like
here, do thing. Go here, do thing.
get a tower, unlock more map. Get a tower, unlock more map. And even and it's kind of shitty that even like Breath of the Wild kind of fell victim to that same type of thing. And most open world games do. I mean, Horizon's the same thing. Find those weird giraffe looking things, get up there, unlock the map. Get up there, unlock the map. I like the uncovering it as I'm traveling, or and like maybe finding a piece of the map and it gives you like a section or something, and you're kind of what was it, like Wind Waker? Granted, this was kind of a pain in the ass, but going around feeding the fish and having them fill out some of your map, like
Yep, that was a pain in the ass.
like that was cool because it's like a different way of doing it. But I also sat there and was like, well, I'm going to do all of this first before I do any mission so that I have the whole damn map to like reference when I'm playing. But anyways, so I want to circle back, Keith, or yeah, Udon, you played Foam Stars?
Yeah, I played Foam Stars. I like it quite a bit actually. I played it more than as much as I do like Helldivers. It I think the matchmaking system needs work. It's really hard to like get in a game, at least from what my perspective was. I was having a hard time like connecting
Yeah,
with anybody.
we
Like the first
DC'd a
mission I
lot.
did by myself, so they obviously have like server issues. But again, if you have server issues and it's like people are willing to like work through that, it's a sign of a good game, I guess. Um, but yeah, I liked Foam Stars. Like, I would probably prefer it to Splatoon as of right now, but I'm also have a big problem with having recency bias. So, um, I mean, what did you feel about it when you played it?
I mean, the art direction's pretty good. I do like the city and stuff. It is pretty hype. But I was having issues with loading. Like going through their storefront it felt like such a slog to just view one skin because I was trying to see what like other stuff was available, kind of diving around inside of it to be like, okay, well, what are they going to nickel and dime me for? Fortnite's storefront menu, though it changes every day, is so fast to like navigate through and see what stuff is. But like Foam Star's menu is just such a pain in the ass just to move between options. I felt like on my end, of course. I don't know if that's an internet thing, but it is interesting that it's not like a Splatoon style cover the map type thing, and that it's more focused on beating somebody up and encasing them in foam and then kicking them or something.
I like it though because like the surfing on the foam like feels really nice. Like the controls are really tight. I didn't feel like anything was terrible. They obviously went the route of just like, and I like party games more. I mean, obviously this game will probably. I mean, I don't know how long it's been out, but will probably develop a meta of sorts. There's obviously ranked to it, but like you just shoot things everywhere and you kind of have like a general sense of what you're doing, and like I just prefer that to like hardcore PvP games. And I actually kind of like that it was about eliminating people. It was just kind of having fun with it, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. But to go back to what you were saying, I actually agree. I think I know what you're talking about because it felt weird that like all that stuff was like separated into different menus. Like um I don't know about the time. I think it just felt weird that like everything you had to go through like a really quick loading screen to get to it, whether you're looking at the store or your character customization or what have you. It was really strange. It was just like a lot of like separation for no reason, where that you could have just put everything right there in that little hub area on top of the hotel.
Yeah, I mean, like even when I navigated away from the gameplay part, I was like, where do I go to go back to play the game? So it's like having all of those menus kind of convolutes the process. I mean, if you're gonna do a game that has in-app purchases, that should be the easiest part of the game if you want to make money.
Well,
You
I
shouldn't make
guess,
it
but it
hard for
also
me to buy
shows.
stuff.
I mean, it shows a little bit of restraint, I suppose. I also think I saw that their premium battle pass is only like $5 as opposed to like the typical like
That's
10.
not bad. Yeah. Well, yeah, and Fortnite can be kind of like, hey, you want to buy this character for $20? And it's like, not really. But that's the one character that it's like get Vegeta and Bulma and this stuff for $15 or Goku for $20. It's like,
Yeah,
ugh,
I
you
wasn't
already,
looking at the store too much. I was more concerned with how the game was playing, and like I said, so like the gameplay itself, like I said, the thing I am most happy with is how tight everything feels. It feels very responsive, very quick. I think the only thing that feels awkward is that I can't reload while surfing. I think that's the only thing that feels weird about the game. Otherwise, I kind of love it. Because Splatoon, while fun to me, and I have put a bunch of time into Splatoon, like has always felt a little floopy, like jumping as a squid in the ink, where you just go bloop. It's this tiny little pathetic little bloop jump. Like it's not very exciting, and the controls are always a bit weird, and Nintendo has never figured out what the fuck online multiplayer is, so it's always been a bit strange to say the least. So I'll probably keep playing it. I was like, weird as it is, I was playing it more than Helldivers after I got the PS Plus thing, but that mainly has to do with
oh
Helldivers'
yeah,
problem
because
in
it
like
was
connecting me
free.
to a game. Yeah, this was free. Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because like I don't think that Foam Stars is going to like be one of those like long lasting games,
No.
but they could if they get the right partnerships. If the characters are like, it's shitty to say, but if the characters are like, sexy and whatever and have some
Well, they
appeal
kind
to
of
them.
are. Like Square Enix didn't like
Yeah, the
cheap out
character
on that. They're
designs
attractive.
currently are really cool. So like if they keep it up with that part, it might keep the game alive. It might have like a community of players that would keep it going, I suppose. But I've seen so many of these types of games come and go, like Rumbleverse, which was that weird battle royale wrestling game that got closed down after like 6 months of running, and so it didn't even get a year in. And then I think me and Edwin tried Ninjala, that weird ninja free to
Yeah,
play game on Switch. That
a Ninja and Bubblegum Battle
yeah,
Royale. It was really weird.
and it has like partnerships with major anime titles like Demon Slayer and stuff. But I think it's still going. But it's I don't know how popular it is. Like I never see anybody playing it, or that I guess it's the My Hero Academia one, but that's hand tailored to the direct fan base of that. That's not like a very open game for people to just accept and start playing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you that like its future is probably in question, especially I think it only is running on PlayStation, like it's not on Steam, it's not on Xbox, not on Switch. So these
Yeah.
like live service games desperately need to be able to be cross-platform, at least with just PC, because the more players you have, the better, obviously. Because there's a game that like had a kind of a strong marketing campaign when it first came out, but now that they have like a player base, I don't hear anything from it unless I go looking, and that was shit, what was it? Hold on, let me look at my Steam library. Battle Strikers, I think what it was called. Hold on.
Yeah, well, the I mean, like Foam Stars doesn't really need like more sexy characters. I feel like that's like a cheap way to like get. It's cheap but effective way to get a fan base, but clearly, like sexiness was not needed for Splatoon. Like the fan base did it itself.
Well, yeah,
We
the fan
won't
base
talk
might have
about
creeped
that.
on that one, but yeah, that's
It's Omega Strikers, and that the game is called Omega Strikers. And I mean, dude, here's a test. It's called Omega Strikers. Have you heard of it?
oh
Nope.
yeah, that's the like top down soccer type game.
Yeah, and so you don't really hear anyone talking about that, but it's been going for like months and months now. And I tried it, I liked it, but it brought too much competitiveness out of me. I started getting salty every fucking game, so I gave it up. But
It's kind of MOBA, right? Like it has like
it's
a MOBA
just a
aspect to it.
well, to me, it's just like 3v. No, it's not even MOBA. I mean, in the sense that there's like heroes with abilities, yes, but that's like everything nowadays. But it's just a 3v3. Basically, you're just playing fucking air hockey soccer, and you have 3 people on each team. Everyone has a different hero, and they all have different abilities and stuff. It's a really neat game concept. I really like it, but after they
Characters are
came
cool.
out, they just grabbed a bunch of YouTubers for marketing mostly, and then they're just riding on their success right now. I think a lot of like Foam Stars might, depending on how much budget they put into it, because surely that game didn't cost a horrible amount to make. So as long as they're making some kind of return, they'll probably just keep it going forever and ever. Who knows, or it can die out. I hope it doesn't, because like I said, I'm actually having quite a bit of fun with it. So
I mean, it was reminding me about like a dodgeball battle royale. I think it's called 3-on-3. I've seen some gameplay about it. It looks nice, but it's just like a very simplistic battle royale. Like obviously, as the name implies, it's 3-on-3, but it's like jump pads, and then you have your own personal glider to activate to make sure you land safely, and then you can still like you hit people with dodgeballs, obviously, and you can also catch them. So it's like an interesting concept, but it seems like very kind of like a narrow entertainment wise. But I guess obviously, like as we've been saying, it's like before that games are more fun with friends rather than just by yourself. Because I know I definitely have more fun playing Fortnite with other people than just by myself. Because then it's just a stressful game at that point.
yeah.
Is it?
We can save more live service talk for another time. We want to talk about some obscure retro games, isn't that right, Jordan?
That is right. Yes. Basically going around with some crazy games that were in the past. Corey, you have to have some along for us. I know you've been dying to tell us a little bit about them. What do you got going on?
Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell. So I was looking through my library of games trying to figure out which one I wanted to talk about, or at least like kind of bring up. And there's a few in there. Like Dark Cloud is definitely one. And I don't know if that's probably the more known game of them, but Dark Cloud, Nightmare Creatures is one that I really like, and that's I have it on 64. I know it's also on PlayStation 1. I believe a lot of people had been introduced to it from a demo disc, and
what was that?
Another game called Shadow of Destiny.
What was that demo? Was it called Jam Pack or whatever that you'd get as a demo? Yeah, that was the
Jam Pack. I still have Jam Pack Volume 1, so I can pop it in and play like a really early set of demos. I have that and like a couple other demo discs. One of them was like a Pizza Hut demo disc or something from like way back, and then
oh right, I remember that. They give you CDs and music.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have any of the Burger King demos, but I'm sure you can find those in abundance at GameStop for like 5 cents or whatever in the used game bin. But a PlayStation Underground demos, and that one was really cool because they would mail me demos that were just a demo of a direct game. So I would get, I think I have Sly Cooper and Jak and Daxter, like an actual like beta demo of those games or something like that. It's kind of cool. I was like 12, 13, so it felt awesome to be like, oh, they sent me a demo, but it's like it's probably because I asked for it. Yeah, but for those obscure games, I just like the things that they introduce. Nightmare Creatures is a little different because it's not necessarily like anything innovative. It's just a really interesting game of its time because it's basically like the first Bloodborne. It's a gothic setting, monsters. You can pick one or of 2 characters, which is some chick or like a guy with a bow staff, and I think the chick has a sword. You find items so you can parry with like a gun, which the gun does like a shitload of damage. But the visual style of the game is pretty good. I like it. It plays weird on 64. It probably plays better on PlayStation. However, PlayStation's probably got shittier load times, so what I would recommend is buying. I have this wireless controller for my 64 that relayed out the buttons to be more like a modern controller, so it makes even GoldenEye manageable to play. So Nightmare Creatures is definitely something to check out, and it also got a sequel. And then apparently, I learned about some other stuff. Apparently, it was supposed to get like a movie and everything, but it got canceled. And then I think the studio closed, so they didn't really have the longest run, but they had a pretty good one. And then there's Shadow of Destiny. So I get into that one first because it has an interesting time travel mechanic, and time travel always fucks up storylines because that's just what happens.
It's so fucking hard to write that well. It's so hard.
Yeah, and so it kind of plays to that. It knows that's the problem, and apparently during the development of the game, they constantly were checking to see if they accidentally made loopholes. So they had to like fine tooth comb it, and it was apparently going to be a PS1 game, but they moved it to PS2, and it has some of the developers from Silent Hill that worked on it. And the voice of Mario is like the secret villain guy, which
Charles
is kind
Martinet.
of it's really crazy that because he doesn't sound anything like him. Like, well, then again, he's Parthenax too, so I mean, he's got some range.
Man has a wide range from just coming from Wahoo Yippee.
Yeah, but like the game takes place in one small little town, and I think it would make for a really good inspiration for an indie game because the game's about solving your own death, and it's really tied into alchemy and the Philosopher's Stone. And so the game kind of opens up with your character getting killed, and he wakes up in this weird, like, dimensional place with this Charles's character, which is like a homunculus. And he gives you this thing, and he's like, hey, go back and figure that out. So then you go back like 10 minutes before your death, and then you were on a timer because it's like you're going to be murdered in like 10 minutes. So you have to figure out what you can do to not get murdered. And then it kind of goes a little bit further, and then you get killed again. So, as the plot unfolds, you find out like somebody's trying to kill you because of something you're going to do. And so you keep having to solve these things like this building is a museum and it has this object in it that you need to bring back to the past. So you talk to somebody in like a time era and you tell them, he asks like, oh, I should turn this into a museum, but maybe a library because like my family member always liked reading. And you tell him, make it a museum. Then you go to the future, you get that item, then you go back to the past to give it to somebody else. And it's really cool puzzle mechanics that way. And because it's so confined and it's not like this giant city, it's just like a small little town, kind of like a neighborhood, basically, like with bodegas and stuff. And it's such a nice experience in a closed area that you don't really do any combat. It's just about like puzzles, and it's not scary. Like it's not a horror game. It's just more of a mystery, and you don't really see those as much. I know that it's very niche of a genre, but like I feel like that one would make a really good indie game if somebody got their hands on it.
Now, how old is that one? Like, I know public domain takes a while, but
2002, I think.
Oh, Jesus, never mind.
Maybe even like 2000. It was so my first interaction with the game was it was a random rental from Blockbuster, and I was with my friend, and we were playing it, and we started getting into it. We're like, oh man, and then we had to return it because it was like a one night rental only because it was new. So then we rented it again, and then we played it some more, and then we're like, we're still not done. So then we ended up just pulling some money together, and we went to go find it at like GameStop or something like that, and brought it home because it was just something that we wanted to finish. And we were like, well, if we keep renting it, we're eventually going to pay for like if we bought the damn thing. So that's why we ended up just buying it outright. We found a used copy, and it's something like that I remember constantly. Like if I think back to PS2 games that I really enjoyed, that one is definitely in like the top 10.
The only the only time I've done that was like when I used GameFly, but I was like for slightly more
man.
modern games.
I forgot about GameFly.
I'm surprised it still existed.
Does it still exist now?
I have no idea. The last time I used it was like 5 years ago, but I used it for like Fable Anniversary
That's
and
still
then
recent.
like Castlevania. But I still don't know if it exists.
From my understanding, GameFly was having issues because you could never get like a brand new game because they were always rented, and then it would take forever for people to send them back because it was that whole keep it until you beat it and then send it back to us.
Yeah, but it's like you had an option to like rent it, but then also another option to buy it from them. But that was always kind of sketchy.
Well, that's a nice obscure reference because GameFly, holy shit.
Yeah, like that being said about the game, do you feel like it was good, or do you just feel like you have nostalgia for it? Like, did it play well?
Um, the the controls I think are kind of dated. You know, definitely a product of their time. You know, looking at it through nostalgia glasses, it's just like, wow, the game's amazing and the visuals are so great. But the game's voicing is very monotone. You know, there's things that are kind of like very samey. And it has multiple endings, but it's one of those games where like when you play it once, that's all you need because like you might not have gotten the best ending, but like when the plot is revealed, like the giant spoiler alert, and I'm not going to say what it is. It's just you. It takes everything away from. It's kind of like watching a whodunit movie, and then you're like, oh, it's that guy, and then you know you're like, well, I can't watch the movie again because it's not going to hit me the same way, you know.
Well, you lose that surprise, but if you like it as much, you'll still watch it again, if it's still good. You said this was a PS2 game or a PS1 game?
PS2 game.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we were still in the neighborhood of like not a lot of games were like super story focused, so that's why I was more asking like how the gameplay was, because if the gameplay was still good, people would come back to that because that was typically what those games around those days were focused on.
Yeah, it was, you know, because this one was like in a sea of uh, action platforming shooters. It was like, here's a murder mystery. And you're like, okay, well, let's see what this is about, you know.
Neat. So that sounds like murder mystery, especially if it's done well. Sounds super interesting. Might be a bit flumpy with the time travel mechanics, but if you say that they have been doing their due diligence of trying to close as many plot holes as possible, then it might be worth a good romp through. You say you still have that one?
Yeah, I have it. It was one of the first games that I started getting on PS2 when I bought a PS2 with my dividend in Alaska, like back in like you know when the PS2 first came out. So it's one of the older games I have in the collection from like just my childhood, rather than something I'd purchased again and put it on the shelf.
Neat. Do you have a game you want to talk about, Jordan?
I got actually a couple. And that was like, going through back in the day and how things used to work. I mean, obviously, to me now it's basically just trying to get things out to the media best way they can sell it with these trailers and so forth, and people that are obviously on YouTube and trying to reach out to you in their way, telling you what their favorite is, and they try to win the public over that way. For me, back in the day when I was a young chap, it was basically what sold you the most was looking at the cover art, and sometimes you just see those pictures that are there that basically would sell the idea that this could be a good game, and then when you play it, it's shit. But then again, that's just depending upon how old you were at the time. I remember like Altered Beast was one of those games that you look at the game's cover art and it has this giant wolf man looking like and off in the distance, and it's got some crazy looking background. And then, of course, and you're on there playing it, and it's just some weird-looking wolf guy that just punches a bunch of floating heads in the sky and such, and, that's the wrap of the game, basically. But, things like that were basically a starting point of how things would work until you start getting later on. When I was getting older throughout the times, and we started coming out with other games that I guess tickled my fancy as a kid was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, there was a lot of games for me that came out for them that were pretty damn good. One which was Turtles in Time. That one that was basically an arcade game first before it actually came out to the Super Nintendo. That was actually a pretty cool thing. It was the ability for you to be able to get with a bunch of teams. So basically a total of 4. You're 4 total Ninja Turtles, and then you guys would go through different sorts of time and beat up bad guys, going through the basic villains that you would have in that game. And then
that was an arcade cabinet, right?
It was. Yeah,
because
I think
I've heard that
Turtles
name
in Time
thrown around a lot. Like I think a lot of people actually have nostalgia for that game. I've never actually played it, but have seen it, have people heard talk about it.
Well, I would just definitely recommend that it's the Super Nintendo you play and not the Xbox 360 remake, because that was total garbage. Like the replacement of the game was half the game's length, and they replaced, I believe it was the prehistoric Donatello with a poo monster. That's what me and Corey were calling, anyways. It looked like
mighty poo.
It looked like a pile of shit that you fought, and it would just move around the map, and that's all you did, and just beating the shit out of it after it popped back up. It was so stupid. The game was super short, and yeah, we paid. I don't remember how much we paid, but we definitely felt like we didn't get our money's worth for the game. That was for sure. It was pretty disappointing. And
was it TMNT Turtles in Time?
Yeah. It was released in 91, I believe, in arcade. No, in 92. Yeah, no, 91 in arcade, and then 92 for Super Nintendo. So it was out there for a year before they released it on the Super Nintendo. And that was a game that me and Corey played a lot. I mean, I would even play it by myself. It was just one of those games you could just keep going back to it. The functions of the game and mechanics, to me, was actually pretty fluid. It was awesome, just the background music and everything that was going on. It was a really, really fun game to play.
Appears we have a message. I think Corey said his internet got cut, so he'll be out for the next few minutes, but hopefully he'll come back.
Poor guy.
Okay. I guess
I'm back, I guess.
Oh,
okay.
back.
Yeah, God.
I'm back from the shadows.
And I reported his death, and he immediately came back.
Yeah, no, the Ninja Turtles
got his one up.
gods were upset about what I was going to say, and then they cut my report.
You do
Turtles
not.
suck.
Yeah, don't you dare.
He got censorship by God.
Yeah, to reiterate, we hated it, and we were very sad playing through it when we should have been
The
happy
remake,
playing
to
it.
be specific, right?
Yeah, the remake, because it was like, oh, the graphics look so good. But we did like that new one, whatever the new Ninja Turtles thing was, the Cowabunga collection thing. Like that one was kind of fun. The beat 'em up.
Yes.
Well, I think we
Revenge
got
or something?
we got Shredder's Revenge, and then the Cowabunga thing was just like cabinet favorites.
Yeah, but Turtles in Time, like me and Jordan put so many hours on that damn game, like as kids, and then like the remake was just meh.
Yeah, that was just the thing back in the day. There was no checkpoints. It was you play, you die, you start all the way at the fucking beginning and try again. It was definitely not it was not forgiving back in the day. I mean, there might have been a couple of games out there like Mega Man and stuff where you put in a code, you just try to remember the characters and try to put it in the 9 block thing to be able to get yourself to start at whatever level you were going to go at. But games back in those days, they that's basically how they played. They were just seriously, you play, you lose, all right, start over, let's do it again. There was no
You think Dark Souls is hard? Play Metal Slug in like a pizza cafe or Dragon's Lair.
Contra too. Contra sucks too. That's a pain in the ass.
Space Ace.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Space Ace.
Oh my god. Yeah. And then I mean, after that whole point, then again, just jumping into the Turtle franchise for me, another one, and I don't know if anybody else had played this. When I was a kid, I really, really was into after the fact of Street Fighter, because that's kind of what I was doing. Is basically I would get the hand-me-downs from my sister. She'd play a game, she didn't like the console, move on to the next one, I would get it. So I got the Super Nintendo and started playing these Street Fighter games, and I was liking it. And then came across a very random copy of Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. That was another one that was pretty crazy to me. It was like a hardcore version fighting game, but with Ninja Turtles, all characters, villains, and such that you battled against each other. Background music was pretty dope, and the fighting was sick. The characters had special moves. You basically had a level meetup bar that would basically fill up fully, and then you had the chance to use it, and then every character had their own specific move. It was funny to me that they made Michelangelo in this game like extremely aggressive. Like, he didn't seem like your typical comical guy. He seemed like he was a version of Raph, that he just was pissed off and he would just beat the living shit out of you. So it was pretty funny to me. So it was just those kind of games back in the day that really, like, you knew that if you beat the game, you'd feel like you could come back to it and you still would be able to play it again, rather than it was, you know, typical games nowadays. You play them and then you're kind of sick of them. I mean, it was a weird thing for me that it had that much connection, and I was really into that. Then of course they had one also for I believe it was for Sega and for another system, I can't remember, but they were, all three were different because I guess of the regions and what they had for them. So different versions of the consoles had different characters for them. And the one that I was aware of that I remember was the Super Nintendo game actually was the best with the controllers. The other ones were extremely difficult. I guess they had issues with it with the Sega version. And then another one, I can't remember what it was called, but that was another one they were trying to include more buttons. And it wasn't fun for anyone, I guess. So that was a fun partake for me. And then my last one, obviously I don't want to keep everybody on this forever, but my last one I want to talk was another fighting game called Bloody Roar. That was another cool game that I played back in the day. That was for PlayStation. It came out in 97, and that was a basic kind of fighting game that would have you transform into an altered state animal. You'd have somebody could turn into a tiger, somebody could turn into a bunny rabbit, somebody could turn into a wolf, a lion, and you guys would just beat the shit out of each other. And the cool thing about that one is that literally the whole level stages were breakable, so you kicked them out of the ring, the level would be over, but you could just run and then transform and blast them through the walls and shit. And it was kind of violent, I guess, back in the day. I don't know if you can call polygons violence, because it just looked like a bunch of square block reds going up in the air when you hit somebody with a punch or something. But
was that before or after Mortal Kombat?
Bloody Roar is a really interesting fighting game. Like, in a sea of fighting games that were trying to break gimmicks of just, like, you know, because Street Fighter obviously is like the fighting game that everybody knows, and then they're like, well, what about Soul Calibur? We got swords, and I always thought that was really cool. Bloody Roar was just fun. Like, it played really well, and the, like, turning into a beast could sway the battle if you, like, time it right and, like, get the combos in. Like, we had a lot of fun playing that. I think I have the second one on PlayStation 1.
Like, physically? You guys still have it with you?
I still have it, yes.
Sleeps with it by his bed.
Yeah, I always keep it near me. I always got that thing on me. But I just remember, like, how cool it was, like, watching the intro, and, like, when you select a character and it, like, says their name and what they are. You know, it's like Buckaroo, the mole, you know, or something like that. And then, like,
Fang the tiger, or something like that.
Yeah, like, the lion was really cool. I think the second game has, like, the mummy guy who turns into, like, a scarab and stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was such a cool concept, and then, you know,
like,
they don't really
it was like
do
a
that.
chameleon or something. Yeah, it was a chameleon or some shit.
Yeah, or the alien.
Yeah.
That one was weird. The Beast, I think, is what it was called. But yeah, that was a really fun fighting game.
Yeah, no, there was definitely a lot of weird stuff happening back in the day, because obviously it was just no one really had an idea of what was going on out there, so they would just test shit as they went around to say, maybe this might be cool, I don't know, just make the damn game.
Yeah, fortunately and unfortunately that they don't do this anymore, but they had ideas. That's why it was so fun, because it was just like PlayStation 2's like library of games. It's just wild.
Mr. Mosquito.
Yeah, there's just so much random shit because people were, you know, exploring, like, genres. We didn't necessarily, like, have, I think, like, Mario and Sonic might have been, like, the only, like, staples at the time. Like, Crash Bandicoot, like, started coming around with, like, you know, PlayStation. He had, like, 3 games or whatever, but, like, we didn't have, like, a blockbuster franchise like Halo yet, where it's like, or Call of Duty. Call of Duty was a World War II game, and it was competing with Medal of Honor, but
we didn't have iconic games.
Like we didn't have like those. There was Final Fantasy. Everybody knew what Final Fantasy was, even if they didn't play RPGs. And then you have Madden, I guess, but like Devil May Cry was new, Onimusha was new. The Resident Evil franchise started getting Code Veronica X and stuff. Like Resident Evil was in the earlier stages of like watch this, but
I think it's more like there was still plenty of like iconic IPs out there that people were drawn to, but the market wasn't such in a way that like little guys could still come in there with like different ideas, like you had the big stuff, but then there was plenty of room for like these weird experimental games to still like find some kind of audience or niche somewhere. But unlike nowadays where it's just like you gotta go big or go home essentially.
Yeah.
Indies before indies.
Well, it's so much like money to develop a game. So like no company makes an adventurous move now. They just play it safe as possible. And if you see like Square Enix in this random game, it's because another studio is making it and they're publishing it, and so like they don't have to eat the loss as much. It's not like their product, they're just putting their name on it because they're going to let somebody else have a stupid idea kind of thing. And then it turns out it's like, oh, that stupid idea is really good.
Did anybody ever play the Phantasy Star Online that came out on Xbox back in 2000? Anybody play that?
I did, actually. It was really fucking weird.
A lot. I played it a lot. And I didn't know if we were going to like talk about that with MMOs and stuff, and
we can save that for MMOs because it generally was. I mean, I don't know about the new one nowadays, but those last, I felt like the old one was had a bit more personality to it, I guess.
Yeah, it was interesting because that was probably like my first. I was introduced to it because my friend across the street had rented it or something or bought it, and we kept going over there to play it because it was like, oh, this is really fun couch co-op, but then you could also go online. And
that was the beginning of online. That was when it was
that was so new to us that we could do that, and I'll go into more detail with the MMO stuff. But yeah, I
can't wait to play WoW this week.
Yeah, and what is it? They had the GameCube version of it, and I believe a PSP one or something. I don't know. But Phantasy Star, it was an RPG game like Final Fantasy until that one came out and kind of changed the direction of the entire franchise. So that's kind of cool.
Well, back to retro stuff. I'm curious as to what Edwin's gonna say because you're not like a super younger than the rest of us, but considering your first console, you said was what, the Wii, right?
No, it wasn't. My first console that I actually knew of was like the Nintendo 64, or I guess like a Game Boy Advance or something. But like obviously, like my mom, she had the SNES, so that was technically my first console. But at that time, I didn't really understand what video games were, so I still played it. But like when I actually knew, like, oh, video games, I was like, these are cool. That was probably like within like the Game Boy Advance and N64 stuff, because I still remember like playing Paper Mario, Wipeout, things like that. But
Wipeout,
yeah, but like all those are like more modern ones. But like what I was gonna say is like I was thinking of more obscure ones and trying not to forget what they were. But it's not like that far back. But it was like in the more PlayStation era, where it's like the Tasmanian Tiger, Valkyrie Profile, and freaking Wizard 101.
Well, I still consider Ty, like, I think a lot of people knew about Ty, but I don't know how many people actually like played Ty,
Well, it's like every person I tried to talk to throughout my life, I was like, oh, I'm playing Tasmanian Tiger. They're always like, what the hell is that? Yeah. But like, apparently it was like a bigger following than I thought, because maybe like 10 years ago. Yeah. Apparently there was like a group up of all the fans of the Tasmanian Tiger, and then like a bunch of freelancers and all that like made a Kickstarter specifically to remaster the first and second game to revive the series. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do. And I didn't realize about that until I bought like a remastered version, and then it had all that information in the game. So it's like that was a cool thing to see. And then I looked up the Kickstarter and it was like, oh yeah, that's what it was. It was like a bigger following for a game that no one knew that I had and I couldn't even talk to about. But it's like it is pretty much you just follow a Tasmanian tiger in like the land of Australia. But it's like obviously
the fantasy world of Australia.
Yes, this was like anthropomorphic animals. A lot of them are like weird. It's I don't know. The voice acting is like very off, but it's like obviously a small company. Like there's like videos inside the game of them making it, and it's like have a bunch of old ass computers and stuff. Like even the video itself is like really grainy and all that. So it was really funny to see. But now they've made like a third game. They made a fourth game, which is weird because the first 3 games are all 3D, but then the fourth one they just made a side scroller. I don't know what the deal with that is. It did not look appealing. But the first game is pretty much like that Ty's family gets abducted by, I forgot, what was it, an emu or something like that? Like an evil emu, Dr. Eggman.
Of course.
Emus are nasty fuckers in real life. I'm
Get down! It's getting out of here, mate. Get down.
Yeah, exactly like that. It was really funny, and it was like
No.
obviously like it's like the dialect is like always the same, and like they repeat themselves in that same way, like almost every single cutscene. But it's just really funny. It's cringy, and it's actually pretty entertaining. Even there's like a lot of enemies die in like a single hit, but like obviously you have more than one attack.
And they say, "Don't no worries, mate."
Yep,
a lot of that.
No worries, mate.
A lot of mate.
No worries, mate.
We're all family here.
That's what they do in Australia.
Yeah, but it's like Ty's family was taken to like a different dimension. So like the whole game is just you go to different parts of the hub world and like go to like tropical or like deserted areas or mountainous regions throughout, I guess, I don't know, old Australia,
Meet out at
like
Outback Steakhouse.
Savannah stuff, and just like collect medallions and all that. It's kind of collectathon, but like not nearly as much as like Donkey Kong 64 or anything like that.
It felt very Banjo-Kazooie from what I remember, because there was like different worlds and stuff.
I wouldn't say it's like as polished as that. It's definitely a lot smaller than Banjo-Kazooie.
Like you're instead of jiggies, you're collecting the big opal or whatever the fuck they were. Like that was the goal.
Yep, that's exactly what they were. They were opals, but they were all like random colors. And you got to collect gears, you got to collect rainbow shells, stuff like that. But it's like I like the concept of like the boomerangs, because there's like a bunch of different ones. That's what the gears are for. You just like get new boomerangs. And it was like that's always like the thing I aimed for, because you got like sniper rings, you got like lava rings, ice, things like that. And like at the very end, you get like probably one of the coolest ones, but I'm not gonna say what it is. But like besides that, and it was like no spoilers. But like besides, I was like that's like a much older one. But like I was like debating on talking about Wizard 101, because like that game, like in its prime, it was like, oh, the ads were just like growing in like player base. They're like, oh, we have 1 million players, 5 million players, 20 million players. I still remember those ads, and like the newer ones were like actually looked pretty cool, but like nowhere near as epic. Like the game is nowhere near as epic as the ads made it seem, because it's just like turn-based magic system where essentially you just like go around doing quests and then like pretty much end fights in a similar fashion. But at the time I didn't have like a lot of turn-based games, and that seemed to be like one of my favorite things at the time, especially since Paper Mario 64 was one of my first games I ever played. So like and Pokemon. So like the turn-based mechanics and all that I took very much a liking. So for Wizard 101, it's just a typical MMO of just doing quests, running around, and then like the magic system. And I'm a huge fan of magic. But there's not really that much to say about it. I have absolutely no idea where it's going right now because I know it had a huge player drop to like from 20 million players to like 100,000 daily. And they had like a huge rocky road where it's like they were really monetizing that shit. So like they lost a lot of people doing that because like all they wanted was money. So I don't know where they are now on that, but
a lot of old MMOs can be RuneScape.
Yeah, well, it took them like I don't know, like 15 years to like finally up the graphics. It's just like you're doing that now. So like, I don't even know if that matters as much, but now it's like it's not even the whole game. It's just like the first world out of like 20 right now. So probably gonna wait another decade on that. But another one is probably one of my favorite games of all times. And I don't even know how many people even know about this game. But again, it also is turn-based. But it's called Valkyrie Profile. Specifically, Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, which I guess is the remastered of the first Valkyrie Profile. But that game, when I first played, it was just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Because like the cinematics are so nice. It's slightly dated, but it still looks very nice. The animation, the scenery, all of it, the voice acting, and that game is heavily story based. There's like 30 champions that you can get, and then you can customize your team with them. But in order to actually progress in the game, you have to train some of them and then send them off to Valhalla, and then you won't get them back until the very end of the game. So, but the thing about sending them off to Valhalla to go fight in like the story war that you're trying to, I guess, help in, like if your characters aren't strong enough before you send them, they can die permanently, and you'll never see them again for the rest of the game. So you got to be very careful with that. But that game is very awesome, and it's heavily story driven because every single character has like its own story, like when you visit them, and like some of them are like fairly short, fairly simple, but some of them can go on for like several minutes. There's like if you're not heavily into story, you're just going to be pressing a ton. But it's still a very cool game. It has like a lot of areas. It's pretty tough. It has one of the weirdest difficulty systems though, because apparently it has like an easy, medium, and hard. But the only way you can get the actual entire story is by playing the hard mode. Because there's 3 different endings, and the easier you play the games, the further you can go from the true story. And the, I guess, less amount of characters you can get, because it just ends up being a shorter game. So like if you play the easiest mode, you either get the bad or like the, I guess, good ending. And then the medium one, you have a chance of getting the true ending, but you have to be like very specific. And then the last one is like you can get all 3, but it entirely depends on you. And it's not as hard as it seems. Like obviously if you get used to it, but like if you play on easy mode, by the end of like I guess that ending, you can get really close to level 100. But when I played it on hard, like the highest I got was maybe close to 30. So you just beat the game in like level 25 or so. So it's just a weirdly weird difficulty system on that. Those are pretty much the most obscure games that I could think of playing.
Okay. Well, I don't have a. Well, trust me, it's like that was pretty extensive. Maybe you can expound more on Wizard 101 when we talk about MMOs at some other point. But because I really like Tai. I actually played Tai quite extensively on PS2. I remember it quite fondly. I haven't played anything other than the first one, but I remember it. I remember liking it. It was in that era of like I threw it in the pile of Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter of like these action platformers essentially.
Yeah.
Well, everyone else had a list. I have but one I wanted to talk about, and one that was like really close to my heart because it's probably one of the first games I remember playing outside of like Age of Empires. The game is called Future Cop LAPD. Um, it released in 1998 on the Macintosh, the PC, and the PS1. I played it on the Macintosh. I still actually have the CD that I used to play it on around here somewhere. Um, and it is a very strange game. It has weird history to it to the point where I never have ever heard anyone speak anything about this game, talk about it until a bigger YouTuber called Josh Strife Hayes put out a video about it on his second channel, where he reminded the world that this existed. And also where I learned that I was even out on the PS1. And when I learned that, I was ecstatic because while I have the old Macintosh installation disk, getting that to run on new hardware is probably, harder than doing brain surgery. And I was very excited. I went out to my retro game store and managed to find a copy of it. And but the interesting thing about this game is that it has weird history to it, especially when it concerns like MOBAs in the modern day, which is really odd but really interesting. So what the game is that it's called Future Cop LAPD. It takes place in like basically picture cyberpunk LA, like super far future. You are a police officer but instead of like being a cop on the ground, you are in a giant mech suit. And let's say police brutality is just the norm at this point. Um, it was made by Electronic Arts, EA of all things. They used to make good games way back in the day.
Yeah, like The Sims.
Yeah. I mean, people shit on EA, and I do too, but I mean, they have made good games. They just run them all into the ground. Um, so you play as a giant mech police officer, basically taking down huge crime lords in LA. And the game is not story driven at all. It is complete, utter nonsense, but in the best way possible. You just basically go through a multitude of levels just to get to the end of it to fight a boss and then get a little cutscene. The main gameplay, the best way I could describe it is third person shooter action platformer is probably the best way I can describe it. The game takes place in third person and it is a shooter. You have three different weapons you can use all tied to a different button, a light, a medium, and a heavy one, with different weapons that you can customize as you get unlocks through the levels. When you start out, you have like a machine gun and rockets and basically just like a giant mortar bomb. And you got to make your way through the levels, killing all the bad guys and their tanks and the people, and a lot of destructible environment for a game this early on. Like there's a bunch of explosions and particle effects everywhere. The music is fantastic, has this weird like rave cyberpunk feel to it. It is absolutely nutty. It goes so hard for a game that old. Another fun mechanic is that while you are a mech, you can transform. You're like a transformer. You can turn into like a vehicle mode and go super fast everywhere, and it helps you avoid obstacles and like hover over water and landmines and stuff. Um, and then you fight your way through these levels, activating switches, taking out the bad guys, getting power ups and stuff. Very video gamey, very old fashioned video gamey. Until at the end, you always fight a boss. And you fight the boss, and you get a little tongue in cheek cutscene of you killing the boss, and then you just move on to the next level. And when I say the game doesn't take itself seriously at all, like it's not, you should never take this game seriously. It's like, yes, you are a future cop in a mech suit shooting everyone in your way. The first level, you take down a drug lord that has turned a telescope observatory into a giant particle beam cannon. Don't ask me how that's possible. And then by the third level, you're fighting basically Cthulhu occultists because you walk in and you have like a handler who's always talking to you, which, on a side note, the voice acting in the game is amazing. Very well acted, but very funny. Like they're hamming it up really good. And she's like, "Ah, yeah, there's a river of blood. That's something you don't see every day." And then you fight giant tentacle monsters at the end, and then you just fight giant slugs and all this other crazy shit. And that's just the single player campaign. So the
fun thing about the game is that it had a multiplayer component. Not only was there co-op for the campaign, where you could both play as robots shooting people, and you actually had a shared health bar. It was a really interesting system. So if someone got hit, you had a shared health pool. So if your friend sucks at the game, he's going to drag you down with him. Um, but then they had a PvP mode, and that's where the MOBA aspect of it comes in, right? So the PvP was you each have a base, and you can spawn tanks at your base and little helicopters. And the idea is that you have to get your tanks into the other person's base. And there's like turrets and power ups and stuff on the map that you can take to help defend against your enemy's tanks, and you can attack the other player and their tanks directly. And it's very similar to how MOBA games play, where the ultimate goal is to get your minions into the other guy's base, getting them past all the turrets and stuff. And so it's weirdly hailed as one of the first games that has like a MOBA-like experience, especially because the PC and Macintosh version had online play, so technically it was like PvP MOBA game. But what's even more interesting is that you could play that mode single player against a very specifically made NPC that's like this crazy flying mech that has a great voice actor. He shouts all kind of crazy stuff at you. He's while you're fighting, even when he's not near him. He's kind of creepy in a way too. But what's interesting about him is that even back in this day, is that every time you beat him at this game mode, the AI gets smarter and stronger. So every time you fight him, he gets better and better and better as long as you keep winning. And I thought that kind of like adaptive AI was like really cool, especially back in a day, fucking 1998. It's crazy. But that was like its only iteration. This game, no one knows about it, no one talks about it, never got a remaster, never got a remake. Quite frankly, I don't trust EA nowadays, even if they decided to do it. Just leave it the fuck alone. But
Yeah.
holds a very special place in my heart. Probably should have been. I mean, we talk about, 2 pixels bleeding to death being fucking violent, but I was probably about like 5 years old playing this game, and you're shooting up fucking convicts in a giant police mech, and they just explode into fucking red pixel sparks or setting them on fire or God knows what. But that game is very close to my heart, and I love it.
It took a huge turn right there in the middle, where it's just like you fight convicts and all that, and then you fight Cthulhu.
I told you, it is complete, utter nonsense, but you just have to be along for the ride. And like I said, I'm a person who cares a lot about storytelling, but if the game has decided it doesn't give a fuck, like this is not what the game's about, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like Valkyrie Profile is like all about story. It's like at some point there's like in the first part it's just like a lot of story because you're just getting more characters, and then in like the midpoint it's nothing but fighting, and at the very end it is really just nothing but fighting because you got every.
Earth Defense Force has got a good storyline.
Yeah, well,
it also has a huge AI. It has a huge like UI that's like almost impossible to read because it's just all over your screen. It's just like how most mech games are.
it's the robot game. Like I was looking at some videos of it, and it does look really interesting. Like I feel like I've played some games that have like that main game feel that it has, but nothing like the multiplayer aspect, like the MOBA type mode. It's cool because like the replayability of that game is heavy, especially since it's so short, like level wise. But like that mode seems like it would just be fun to just play over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, and I did it as a kid when I was replaying it to talk about it for today's episode. Like I was blowing through the levels just like I did back then. Like it was just getting back on a bicycle. You never forget. I played those levels so much, but I have so many memories of you just sitting there playing that multiplayer aspect against the AI opponent so long. It's like I remember his some of his voice lines. Like I said, he'll talk to you the entire time whether or not he's close to you. And like if you look up his voice lines, Future Cop LAPD, PVE enemy voice lines or something along those lines, you'll find it. Skylord, that was his name. Skylord, that was the guy's name because he was a plane mech, and he'll just be like, I see you, and the fucking voice actor puts out is all into it. It's so memorable.
Yeah, it looked really cool. It's like the closest thing that
Or Sky Captain, that was close.
I can think of is like this game I had called Machine Hunter, and you like pilot a robot, but you can kill another robot and take over its body, and now you're using a different robot, and you go around to rescue people. And it was kind of cool, but it was just like
Titanfall?
It was a twin stick shooter game on PlayStation 1 that had these possession mechanics, which was kind of neat. But like I like all of the strange like dystopian sci-fi robot games of like the earlier PlayStation lifespan, because there's a lot of them.
Nice. Do we want to jump into some news?
Yeah,
Sure.
let's do it.
All right. So on today's news, we have with us two articles that came, one from GameStop and then one from GameRant. First one, which is hilarious to me, is Call of Duty servers are down and causing reset to player stats in progression. So players have reported problems across Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone, with the server issues affecting their multiplayer, zombies, and battle royale. Activision has commented on the issues, including that they may also impact Modern Warfare 2. But here's what you need to know about logging into play. You can still try to hop into matches of Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone, but you'll want to be aware that in addition to the difficulty finding matches, many players have suffered reset stats, bugged weapon progression, and lost progression on all battle pass and events. Activision has
just don't play the game.
Yeah, Activision has acknowledged this issue with the post, the official Call of Duty updates account on Twitter, and announced that a fix is in the works. However, it warns that players may still notice the unusual behavior related to account level and loadouts. A time frame wasn't provided, and it might be safer to avoid the game until the issues are resolved. What do you guys think on that? Pretty crazy, huh?
I think
That's
it's
fucking
hilarious
dumb.
because I remember when I played Call of Duty, the whole fucking point was to keep resetting your account over and over to prestige. So what the fuck is everyone pissed about?
The prestige system now is a little different, but man, I have stopped Dead Island, I think was the game. When it came out, it had a save glitch, and I put like 20 hours into that game over the weekend when it came out or whatever, and then at work I was talking to people about it, because they got it too, and we were like, oh yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun or whatever. I was like, yeah, I just got this stuff. I found these items, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to play it when I get off work today. And I got home, and the save glitch happened, and it erased my save. I took that shit right back to GameStop and traded it in for something else, because I was like, I cannot do this.
Well, I mean, it's Dead Island, so it would have chased you away eventually.
Yeah, but it's like losing your save, like on a RPG or something. You put like 60 hours in or whatever, somebody saves over it, and you're just like, I'm gonna go blow my head off.
Yeah,
I can't.
No, that's what happened when I first played Skyrim on the 360. Like I had like 128 hours or something like that, and my character was like level 68. And then when I logged in, and that save, it's just like file corrupted, and then I just lose the save. Like I could go back to it, but eventually it's just gonna break again. So it's like I literally cannot play the save file because it's just corrupted. So it's like, well, I lost all that time.
Yeah, I mean, I just recently had an external hard drive die on me that had like source files for my contract work, and I was just like, it's such a shitty feeling that like I'm not mad, and it's not like I'm disappointed type of like meme. It's more of a like you're empty. It's like, what? I don't have any of these things.
I have nothing. I am nothing. I return to nothing.
Yeah, you just kind of sit there. Like, I could be mad, I could cry, I could scream to the heavens, but like, it's not going to change the fact that my files are fucking gone. So it's just like,
well,
you're so defeated, I guess.
Yeah. Well, to add more salt to the wound, Call of Duty developer warns of spike in cheating report bans. A recent spike in Call of Duty cheating reports led to more than 6,000 accounts being banned in 4-day span. Cheating in Call of Duty has always been a risky business, but it's gotten especially fraudy in late February. A recent update from Activision's official Call of Duty X account said that the game's anti-cheat team have been monitoring a spike in cheating within the community, which resulted in over 6,000 accounts being banned in a 4-day span. Ridiculous.
That
Oh,
feels well.
I saw some stuff about that. I saw a video. It was like someone made a video about that exact same thing. It was like, oh, the battle eye is down, and then it's just a whole video of people flying around the war zone area, but like the animation is like they're swimming. It's like something where you like drive a car into the water, but you don't get out. And if you stay there long enough and then you get out, you'll start swimming, but you can swim above the water level and then just go super fast speed, like throughout the air, and then just shoot people from up there. It was so stupid. The game's fucking garbage.
I mean, a lot of people, from my understanding, are using like aimbots and shit to like, for streaming and like YouTube content, and not like on a competitive scene. Even though some people have been caught cheating on competitive scene, and that's really funny. But like, I don't know what the number is of player base to 6,000, but like that seems like a small percentage, so that number doesn't seem too high to me. However, it's probably, I don't know if their report system is an automated thing that then goes under like human eyes to check and see, but automated things usually suck. So when people lose and they get all pissy, they're just like, report player, and then the thing automatically puts like a flag on you if you've been reported by too many people in like a certain time. And then like a human has to go back and be like, no, he actually wasn't doing anything or whatever. So like these automated systems just bite everyone in the ass, because it's like, maybe somebody kills me in Fortnite and I hate that. Like, I can't believe they no-scoped me and I was so mad. So I'm just going to report them and see if something happens. I could see that happening a lot.
Well, reporting is really weird in games because I've seen like so many different things. Because like in Overwatch, I saw a video of someone like playing very well at Genji, and then like mid-match he got kicked out, and then his account was locked because a bunch of people reported the hell out of him in the match, and then just because he was playing too good, and then like there's like
yeah, he's a
fuck that character.
Good, fuck him.
Yeah, definitely, because Genji's freaking annoying. But there's like a bunch of other systems where it's just like they don't really do anything if you report them. It's like obviously it takes like, oh, we don't really do anything about reporting unless it's like a substantial amount, because there's like a report abuse and stuff like that. But then there's like other games where it's just like if you falsely report for someone, you get penalized instead. So it's like, why would you risk it then? Just like freaking deal with it.
Douchebags.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many like weird like baby gates that they're trying to put on online like experiences because they're like, oh, we want to make sure the online experience for everybody is safe and family friendly, and it's just like, I know the meme of it is like they wouldn't last a day in Halo 2 like chat server or whatever, or a Call of Duty 4 server, and it's not even about that. You just like, it's like, just mute them. You can mute players. Like, people get all pissy, and just mute them. Like,
I think at some point I saw like a news article saying that teabagging will count as sexual harassment or something like that.
Yeah, they were trying to say, that was, I think that came from something where like some chick was playing a first person shooter and like or no, I think it was the Grand Theft Auto 5 like online something, and then like players were like teabagging her or whatever, and then she's like, I felt like I was assaulted or something, and I'm like, whatever. It's like, whatever, that's fine. I mean, like, I feel like I'm getting fucked a lot when I'm on the losing side of a Call of Duty match, and it's like, 75-20, and I'm just like, what the hell is my team doing?
So if you have a dream and you woke up sexually harassed, does that count too? Like, I had a dream I was being sexually harassed.
You because you had no power over this.
And you cheated on me in your dream.
I understand the taboo of the conversation here, but like, literally the online experience can be just give the players the individual option to toggle player chat, because it's the only thing you can do. I know they got like, we're listening, monitoring if you swear too much or some bullshit, but it's like, just let the player go, no, I don't want to listen to that one anymore. And if that player's going to go out of his way to send you direct messages and all this other crap, like, that's because they're just a shitty person. But you can't stop shitty people from existing. Cause
even then, you still have the power to block people. As soon as you get a nasty message, just be like, block, moving on.
Yeah, you don't have to engage. I always think it's funny when people argue with each other on like social media. When you see like these long back and forth threads on something, and you're like, man, these guys got a lot of fucking free time.
So much energy, Jesus Christ!
It's like you could have just not said anything, and I don't know. It's what is it? They're looking for civil discourse in a place where no one can see your face. That'll never happen. That's just
everyone's a man on the internet until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Edwin.
Yeah, get him.
So our last one here from Game Rant is going to be the last article here. New Skyrim mod makes NPCs smarter in combat. A new mod for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is making major improvements to the AI for the beloved RPG enemies, focusing on ranged combat. A new mod for Skyrim enhances enemies' AI, allowing them to find better cover from ranged attacks and insulting players from trying to exploit combat mechanics. Skyrim boasts an impressive modding scene that has created a wealth of upgrades to the beloved RPG, ranging from quality of life improvements to new content. Skyrim's sustained popularity comes as fans await news about the Elder Scrolls VI, recently confirmed to have entered active production following Starfield's release. And that is the end of our news.
How does it penalize you?
That mod from Bethesda? No, I mean, Bethesda just released as an update, so that's a community mod.
Is that AI as in like companions, or just like the AI overall is like the enemies that you're facing?
I believe that they're talking about it in overall stat. Yeah, they talk about the NPCs, but it's not really sounding like actual AIs involved. It just sounds like they might have had some sort of stick to it, but you know, it's not going to be crazy. Yeah.
Get out of the doorway, Lydia.
Dude, that's all I was gonna say. Like I was like, I don't even care about the combat. Like, I understand that it's going to be like, oh, the AI is recognizing that I'm hiding, so it's going to circle around or whatever, or like have better aim or blah, blah, blah. Just tell the companions to stop stepping on fucking traps. That's all I want. Just carry my shit and don't step on the traps. Because when you die in the middle of a room full of fire because you fell on the button, I can't go get my stuff. And it drives me crazy. But I remember doing that. It's like, okay, I'm going to just get over here and get this dragon claw thing. And then I turn around and watch, like, it was the guy who's like, I want to be an adventurer, but my dad won't let me. Can you buy me a shirt? And so I'm like, fine, you can come on this adventure with me. And then he was my companion for a long time. And I was like, it's me and him. I think his name was like Eric or something. And it's like, it's me and him. And we're going to go the distance. And then next thing you know, he's like, wait for me! And I'll turn around like, no! And he just steps on a trap, and it just fills the room with fire, and there he goes, dead in a cave somewhere in Skyrim. And I'm like, I don't even know what to tell his dad. I'm just going to never come back to that. I'm not going to go back to that village. He'll just think that his son is on a grand adventure for the rest of eternity. But meanwhile, he's just rotting in a cave with like 1,000 cheese wheels.
As much as I like the modding community making Skyrim a fucking playable game at the same time, it's like I almost want I don't want this and don't want this. It's like I want them to stop supporting it so they'll just get off their lazy fucking asses and make a new goddamn Elder Scrolls already instead of just fucking surfing Skyrim forever and ever and ever and ever.
That modding community should just make their own game.
At this point, right?
Yeah, it's like, you guys know what you're doing. Just do it. Elder Scrolls 6 is not going to come out for another, like, 7 fucking years or whatever.
And Skyrim's been out since 200001, right? Is that... Or we're
2011?
2011. Yeah. Jesus. That's still a long fucking time.
It was 11/11/11 or whatever was the release day.
Yeah,
I mean, I still remember watching my roommate play Oblivion, on 360, and then it was
I still have the Skyrim 360 case. Like, I still have it. I still remember getting it when it came out. It's nutty.
I tried playing Oblivion, but I played Skyrim too much, so I can't move myself away from like the difference between Oblivion and Skyrim. So I just couldn't play Oblivion. I know that it's like funny and all that, but it's like if I was going to play Oblivion, I might as well just play Skyrim instead. Because I'm already used to it.
I mean, I feel like Skyrim has probably better presentation, but when it comes to like actual like content, I feel like Oblivion's better.
Well, it's funny. There's like the mod community is so good at what they do that it's like Bethesda just gave up on the idea of the Creation Club and then just gave out like everything that they did have in the Creation Club. It was just very funny. It's like half your stuff. It was like they had like what 20 mods in the Creation Club. It was like, nah, this isn't working because they tried to monetize like specific mods that and it's just really funny because people downloaded those mods and like paid for them and then they just put it on like a Skyrim Nexus to give out for free. It was like, hey, here's an unofficial version of the official version, but it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just like kind of like pirating.
Well, let's go ahead and look at our polls. So, as we are talking about retro games and such, we had put up a poll for the listeners out there for what was your favorite video game remake. So we had a total of 5 different choices. We had Dead Space, Demon's Souls, Final Fantasy VII, Persona 3, and Mario 8 RPG. First place was, of course, Dead Space. Second was Final Fantasy VII. What do you guys think on those remakes?
Nobody picked. God, what was the other remake? I can't even think of it right now, so that's probably why it didn't win. But Dead Space, yeah, Dead Space is really good. I mean, they rebuilt the entire. Like, I watched like the making of stuff when they were first announcing it, and they rebuilt like this whole audio system and like flesh system, and it's just so true to the source material, and it's just such a great experience. Like, I didn't feel like I was playing a remake. I felt like I was playing Dead Space again for the first time, you know?
Yeah, it's one of the very few times, like, I almost can't even think of another time I honestly think this, but it's just like, if someone who came up to me who has never touched Dead Space in their life, it's like, what version should I play? It's like, play the remake. Like, that's like the definitive way to experience the game at this point.
Yeah. You can even set the characters' textures to be like the original version of the game if you want to see it like that, which is kind of funny. You know, but like they did some changes to it, which I was kind of nervous about, which like in the original, I believe the main character is like a silent protagonist until like the very, very end.
Oh no, like Isaac never talks, and even at the end, he's just like he says like one thing. I think
like,
as the credits go
yeah.
out, like giving him a voice was such a good idea. Giving him a voice, changing up the fucking dynamics and the other like voice acting around it a little bit is fantastic. I love it.
The interacting with the wife and stuff more. Yeah, like he's just like the one line he says when he gets on the ship at the end. He's like Mondays.
Like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my 2 weeks in as soon as I get back.
Yeah,
this job.
His wife or his girlfriend, I guess. She had like so much more of a like she just wasn't just there, you know, like she was doing shit on the ship and like actively trying to. It's kind of heartbreaking too when you read everything and you get all the voice lines and stuff, and you kind of learn that Nicole, that was her name. Nicole was like really close to actually like solving the problem, but then everything just goes to shit right at the last second, and it's just game over at that point.
It's a good franchise too. Like, it's a really strong franchise. I liked 2. Obviously, like most things, it starts to evolve into more of an action game, of course, but I watched the movie. I played the weird like Wii game that was like a rail shooter.
Like you watched the movie?
Yeah, there's an animated movie.
They have an anime
like
what happened prior on the
It was the Ishimura before Isaac gets the worst job.
Ever. Well, they also had another one, but it was like a really shitty 3D movie of like stuff that happened afterwards. It was really, that one was really bad, but the anime was good.
Yeah, there was like a weird era of like video games getting animated movies, and like Dead Space and Mass Effect.
The Mass Effect.
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry. Well, Devil May Cry had like a series, and then like it's getting a new series on Netflix. But like, I think Halo, Dante's Inferno got one, and it's just kind of like
Dante's Inferno was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. But it was just such a weird like entertainment dipping its toes into video game media outside of like the video game aspect of it. So it's Dead Space was picked up immediately, of course. And the third game sucks that they have like all this microtransaction crap in like the modding of your weapons, and then they literally gate like a lot of content from the co-op side. Like your friend has to buy it and play as the other character for you to see that part of the story, which I thought was really shitty of them.
But it's also kind of interesting, right? Because like when you're playing it, like it's a good and bad thing. It was a double-edged sword that I don't feel worked out ultimately in the end, but it is fun when you're like playing it with them, and because it's almost like a meta thing, right? So they're both going crazy and they both see their own thing. So when you're playing Isaac or you're playing the other guy, Carter, I think his name was, or something like that.
Yeah,
but
like a security guard on the station.
Either way, it's like a meta experience because it's like you can only see that because that's his personal, like hallucination, right? And while you're playing it, if you don't know that going in, it's like, do you not see this? And the other guy's like, and your friend's like, no, I don't fucking see shit. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? So I think it's a really cool meta idea, but yeah, I see what you mean. Is like you're not getting the full content because you can't see that from the other side.
It was weird. Like that franchise, like a lot of things actually got involved in that franchise, which was, they got the movie, they got that weird microtransactions thing, and the second game came out in that weird era where everybody had to have an online like team deathmatch mode. Like BioShock 2 had one, Condemned had one, or I think Condemned 2, but like Dead Space had an online. That was kind of fun, but
yeah, I think it was interesting. I'm like hoping and praying that they'll remake the second one because I prefer Dead Space 2 to Dead Space 1, and I think it's just because I like the setting more, like being in a city, really cool. Essentially. Yeah. And then they can stop because, well, Dead Space 3 wasn't horrible. It definitely, compared to the other ones, wasn't like nearly up to par. So
yeah, I feel like they were just like, let's get this shit over with, like to stop making them, I guess is what it feels like. They're like, well, we're gonna wrap this story up because obviously Isaac isn't gonna be fighting like the necromorphs forever. So
yeah, well, actually, I take it back. If it's the same team that worked on the first remake and all the improvements that they did to it, if they go back to Dead Space 3 with the mindset of like, all right, let's fix this shit, then go for it.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Well, I never played the remake because literally the year before it released, I played Dead Space 1 for the first time. I was like, well, I played the first one too recently, so I don't know why I would play the remake.
Like they improve everything, like the zero G, like from the gameplay of the zero G being better, and the whole there's no loading screens. The whole Ishimura is just one big place you can travel around. There's side quests. Isaac talks now, so like how the story is presented is completely different. Like it is a completely different game and an upgrade in almost every way to the original.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt when I finished the first one and I played the second one. And then it's like, oh, Isaac never talks, and then now he's talking a ton. I was like, you were a shit talker the whole time.
He's a chatty Cathy.
Yeah, and I like the powers and like the movement, the abilities, and all that of the second game. I like the telekinesis of just spiking the necromorphs onto the walls and stuff.
The what was it? Dead Space also has like the best UI in like
immersive
many
UI.
games. It's so good.
Yeah,
I love the beacon to like I'm lost, where the hell am I going type of thing. Like that's such a cool way to do that instead of just throwing markers all up on the screen where it's like go over there, go over there, go over there. It's like it's there when I need it because I get turned around, but you get so used to the layout of the ship that you just know where you're going. And I think all three games, the third one not as intense, but all three games have really impressive like intros. Because like in Dead Space 1, they're like get on the ship, it's all quiet, you're like, what's going on? And that room just gets freaking wrecked by some folks.
Yeah.
And then in the second game, I believe he's in the hospital, and that guy's like turning into a monster in your face.
Yeah, that was crazy. Creepy as hell.
You're like, oh my god, I don't have any weapons and I have to run. Like it's so crazy. But yeah, it's such a good game. And we would probably get into horror games at some point, but yeah. Way to win. You did. Even though Demon's Souls is very beautiful, I'd still think Demon's Souls is a very amazing graphically game. And I like the Nexus and stuff, but I can understand why Dead Space would win that.
I
Well,
haven't
the remake
played
of
3, otherwise I might have been biased.
Yeah, well, the remake of Demon Souls is the only one I played. I didn't play the original.
The original is hard as shit.
I mean, that one was hard as
they're
shit too.
They're both hard, but like Demon Souls has it has a really weird like system with the like world tendency stuff, and I don't know. It's really kind of just it's the beta for Dark Souls for sure. Dark Souls is a much better game than Demon Souls, but I'm glad Kingsfield existed so that these could be like the things I start playing. Even though I would really love for them to make a new Kingsfield game, that would be really cool.
Oh, they're remaking a bunch of them. So...
The old one, just
yeah,
shitty.
it's just like it's all square corridors and tank controls.
It's just Doom. It's just Doom in Dark Souls form
with a sword, no guns.
All right,
you get a bow. That's the best you get.
Yeah. All right, team. Let's jump into some trivia questions. You guys ready for those?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, let's go ahead. So the very first question I have for the team is: Nintendo began as a company selling which product? Was it A, toys, B, playing cards, C, board games, or D, instruments?
Playing cards.
Playing cards.
Okay, I've heard that they were selling like literally anything but video games at the time, so I have no idea. I know they had like a bunch of real estate. That's the best I knew.
So the answer was in fact playing cards. Nintendo is actually an extremely old company, and its history dates back to the 1800s. During this period, video games absolutely did not exist, and instead, Nintendo created some of the most popular card games in Japan.
1800s, bro.
Any name?
The name
That's
was
wild.
was Hanafuda. Hanafuda was stating as flower cards. These cards were handmade designs painted for matching as a matching game.
Wait. Does that play like anything like Mahjong?
No.
No. Just
Okay,
matching
because
cards.
I think I know what you're talking about. That card game makes no fucking
You've
sense.
probably seen
But like
it.
also neither does Mahjong, where it's just like remotely similar pictures on each tile. It was like you match together, but that flower game is even harder, where it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I've seen it multiple times, and I've seen people play it, and I still don't know how to play it.
I think you're trying to set scenes or something like that, but yeah.
Anyway,
And then there's Yu-Gi-Oh cards based on them.
you guys. Now we'll go ahead and get into the second trivia question. So, how many total characters are in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, counting Pokemon Trainer and Pyra and Mithra as one each, if including the DLC characters? How many total characters were placed into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Was it A, 90, B, 74, C, 79, or D, 86?
But also Pokemon trainers like Squirtle, Boas, Squirtle, Ivysaur,
If
and
you count
Charizard.
Pokemon Trainer as one, not including the 3 Pokemon, you count Pokemon Trainer as himself one.
None of the
Okay, because you were counting the what are the Xenoblade ones as different.
Pyra and Mithra are going to be considered as one. They're not going to be considered as 2.
Oh, as one. Okay, I
As
thought you were
one.
separating them.
No.
Never mind.
Mithra.
I
I don't know why you're saying Mithra.
Eight,
There's no I in that name.
86.
Is that
Was that one? It was
I think-
multiple choice.
I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, that was
Yeah,
one of
well-
the options.
I think you were absent for the last few seconds.
Okay, I'm gonna sing 74 because that's the only number I heard.
Fuck. I never sat down to guess. I guess I'll go with Edwin on 74.
Hello.
Silence when
What's the
Jordan
answer?
died.
They came out with Super Smash Bros. Came out with a total of 89 characters, but that would be actually only a total of 86 if you included Pokemon Trainer and Myra and Mithra. So 86 was the answer.
I did it.
Okay,
I
I was
only played,
prepared
like,
to give
4.
you a drum roll because that's how silent it was.
My damn button thing didn't switch
I was
over as I talked again to
I was
myself.
sweating.
I was sweating myself too. Like this shit ain't working.
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we've mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.